this, I think, with the Alumni Association, Hemant and Mohan will coordinate, where we will launch the book and we will involve reading some excerpts from the book and also recounting some anecdotes which were too juicy to put in the book.
Sanjeev, now you can have the official release now,
Okay.
and the session later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mohan, why don't you come up?
And Madhukar.
And Madhukar, please come. Few drinks have been imbibed. Maybe after dinner, either today, tomorrow, we'll fix it. There's a story about the book also.
What is the name of the book, please?
You'll find out. So, like with that, again, thank you everyone for taking the trouble for coming all the way for this reunion. We had about 90 people confirmed initially, which is, I think, one of the largest of any batch. After that, finally, we had 80 people reconfirmed. About 70 have shown up, out of which 20 are from outside the country. We have Anto from Malaysia, we have Aikesha from Nepal, a lot of people from the US, and I don't know, a few other countries may be represented. But really thanks to everyone. So let's enjoy the next 3 days. I don't know when the next reunion will be, but this is fun time. With that, thank you again for everybody's organizing. Thank you.
Yeah, so I have nothing much to say. Like Mother is saying that I'll request all of you if you could tell us in advance that you want to cancel the ticket. So we took help of Nirmal Sinha. I and Sanjeev went to the railway station to book tickets for all of us. And this was supposed to be a group booking, and there is a system of group booking. And then when we reached the station, the lady there said, no, you can't do a group booking now because the person concerned is not here, the person who authorizes the group booking. So we were about to return, and then she told us away that yes, we can do it individually. So you fill up so many forms, separate forms. We'll make sure that you get accommodation in the same coach. So we, 3 of us were there, and we started filling all the forms, and then we kind of got reservation done. And then I think so they made sure that all the accommodation was given in the same coach, other than one ticket, I think, with 6 people, which was done.
You get any discounts?
No, government doesn't give discounts. And then after that, obviously, the cancellations started happening. And
But you got advantage, all ages were same.
So many people did not give their ages, so I just filled in 56 and 52 for husband. It will be easier than cancelling, because again you have to give the age while cancelling, the name, the age. And then Amit helped me in the last day for the cancellation. The cancellation happened day for yesterday, last day. And still I think that 3 people did not show up, KK Shukla, SB Khare and Siroji. So their tickets could not be cancelled. And we traveled with 3 extra seats and were able to manage the C1 people into C4. So that we can plan ahead. Thank you.
Come to the last item of the function.
Faculty is not allowed to run.
I handle the Treasury Department of Alumni Association.
Wonderful department.
Yeah, but unfortunately I've never seen the money. 2 years and I'm still hoping that by the time my term ends, I will see some money. So Didi has to show some money. On behalf of Alumni Association, it's an honor pleasure to have you here. And particularly some of the weekends, in this session from October to March, we have been, I think this is the fourth reunion. So it's been pretty active reunion this time. And it's good to see you back. It's good to see you back. When I talk to Prabhat Munshi, age difference doesn't matter too much when you talk to him. And somebody saying that Buddha is going to get all the Buddhas. So this year certainly the difference are 97 bench. So so it's good to see you. I taught one of daughter of Cheshta Singh. She was with the so it's good to see that I started teaching some of the kids of some of our alumni. It's a great feeling to have. So on behalf of Alumni Association, I want to thank many people. To start with the Institute, the patron, the actor. Without the help of the Institute, it's very difficult to conduct such a. Please have a big applause for the Alumni Association work together with the batch coordinator. It is the batch coordinator who guides the meetings, the dates, all the booking as Mr. Sahai and Mr. Kumar said that. So kindly have a big applause for them. The Dean RPG also is actively involved in the reunion, and tomorrow is a session with the Dean RPG, particularly on the part of vision as well as the money is always a part of that. So we thank the Dean RPG on behalf of Alumni Association for coordinating some of the activities which they take it on behalf of Alumni Association. So kindly have applause for the Dean RPG. And his team, Mr. Shakti. He's also always part of it. Now, Alumni Association cannot work without the help of volunteers. So I would like to request the volunteers to stand so that they can. We have Didi who does, which is the face of Alumni Association when it comes to interaction. Yes. So certainly Didi is, we should thank her. There are other people, Lalita, ma'am, Hindu, and Praveen, who is very, very active in running around, and that's why he keeps his health in various things. Probably will remain like that. So we should thank them. So that ends the vote of thanks. I would like to summarize some of the key events. After the group photograph, that's after the lunch, you have departmental visit. So electrical and material science have arranged some of the faculty members who are going to bring you from your photo session, rather drag you to the department. So time is an essence, so they will have a faculty meeting which will start at 3:30. So please just keep a time so that you can reach the department by 3:30. Chemical engineering department, so volunteer will come and will take you there. You have a visit to new planetarium today from 6:30 to 8 p.m. For an observatory session. So keep in mind this is a new which has been recently inaugurated. Then gliders are going to be open tomorrow. So if you want to take a session on that, or rather you enjoy the view from the top, and you can register at the BH 103. Just make a note of that. Tomorrow we have an interaction session of the RPG at 9:30. So with that, I'll be again and have fun and enjoy your stay.
Well, thank you all. I don't know how endlessly it will go. I mean, that shows what you're listening. I'd just like to mention that, please, I'd like to introduce Professor Vinayak Rath, who is here to welcome, and he just joined Professor of Social Sciences and was the secretary before I took over. So the previous secretary is here. So without
पीछे पीछे
कानपुर वाले होके ऐसा करते हो।
टाइम लगता है। विष्णु शुक्ला 7235 देखो क्या होता है
मैं जरा थोड़ा सा
बेकार कर मत करो।
अभी आप हम जा रहे थे मुझे हो सकता है
जब इंटरव्यू के लिए गए थे तो अशोक सिंह मेरे
It's very close back. Very close to audience. Very close about it. Like literally within an hour. But he's sort of available by a speaker. Ramesh Mahadev is like. About it. I think we had it last time around as well. Maybe this is where we take it again. Yeah, I guess
मैं रतन को एक बार कोहेर पे लेने गया क्यों साल हो गया बोलो ना ऐसे मैं दोनों की चाहता हूँ इसकी
ये हॉस्पिटल जगह मतलब you can make out from here. ये अलग
फेशियल हो रहा है। Yellow, Rita.
You remember this birthday song? Whose birthday is this?
Happy birthday, anybody else?
Please come down. Yes, yes. Sir, no. Please. Hello. Last row, please come down this side. Last row, yes. No. No.
बैठे क्या करें, करना है कुछ काम। अरे यार वो शुरू करो अंताक्षरी लेके प्रभु का नाम। So your time starts now. Join.
No.
A bit loud, guys. A bit loud.
Pichikdana, दाने ऊपर दाना, इचकदाना, छते ऊपर लड़की नाचे, लड़का है दीवाना, इचकदाना, कर बैठे, करना था इनकार, मगर इकरार तुम्ही से कर बैठे, ठाठ पे, ओ बाकी यार,
खाड़े रही हो।
That was wrong. Th दिया था, not me. It is in third. Somebody needs to be referee. Hey, listen guys, marking in third दिया था, first लगाना बस्ता भैया।
You guys join.
यहीं पर कहीं आप हमसे मिले थे।
गा चुके ना
I want this natural.
रुक जाओ जाने वाले रुक जा, है तो राही तेरी मंजिल का, सफर में तेरी मैं मुराद नहीं, आदमी बुरा नहीं मैं दिल का। मैं आया हमें जो दिल में समाया, लो झुक गया दिया जले मेरे मन में अंधियारा है जाने कहाँ है वो साथी जो मेरे जीवन उजियारा है रात और दिन पर पढ़कर कि तुम नाराज ना हो कि तुम मेरी जिंदगी हो कि तुम मेरी बंदगी हो
मर जाएंगे रो रो के मर जाएंगे रो रो के दुनिया बड़ी जालिम है देख के हंसती है अब दुनिया बड़ी जालिम है वो देख के हंसती है
नींद नहीं आए चैन नहीं आए दिल में तू समाया प्यार भरा मौसम दीवाना दीवाना
ना आए
तुम्हारी मैं रो पड़ूंगी रो पड़ूंगी
गा 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 गा
गाने के लिए तो जिए
तो रोने वाले गाने आ रहे हैं व्हाट कैन वी सो एटलीस्ट लेट अस हियर देम
मैंने हंसने का वादा किया था कभी इसलिए सदा मुस्कुराता हूँ मैं
मो अगेन मो नाचे
ना मेरी बेरी के बेर मत तोड़ो मेरी बेरी के बेर मत तोड़ो कोई कांटा खाए कांटा चुभ जाएगा
मेरा दिल तू ही मेरी मंजिल है कहीं बीते ना ये रातें कहीं बीते ना ये दिन कहीं बीते ना ये रातें कहीं बीते ना ये दिन गाता रहे मेरा दिल
लाख तारे आसमान में एक मगर ढूंढे देख के दुनिया की दीवारी दिल मेरा चुपचाप जला लो
खड़ी मैदान खड़ी क्या खूब लड़ी क्या खूब लड़ी हम दिल से गए हाय हम जहाँ से गए हाय हम दिल से गए हम जहाँ से गए बस आंख लड़ी और बात बड़ी लाल चढ़ी मैदान खड़ी
मौसम भिगा भिगा इसलिए मैं तो गिरा मैं तो गिरा मैं तो गिरा हाय अल्लाह सूरत आपकी सुभान अल्लाह इट्स से राइट सूरत आपकी सुभान होता ही नहीं है सुभान अल्लाह ला मात्रा को ये जो जंगली की तरह है ये उनका है काम मर जाए मिट जाए हो जाए
मस्ताना फर्स्ट लाइन में रेखा जब तुम्हें देखा ओ रेखा जब तुम्हें देखा खाना पीना सुना दुश्वार हो गया मैं आज तमाम का बेकार हो गया रेखा ओ रेखा खासे
खोया खोया जान खुला ओई से खोया खोया जान कैसे खुला
हरे कृष्ण हरे राम गम मरुदम मेरे सामने वाली खिड़की में एक जान का टुकड़ा रहता है अफसोस ये है कि वो हमसे कुछ उखड़ा उखड़ा रहता है अपना दिल go.
भंवरे खिल रही है कली 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 गुनगुना रहे हैं भंवरे खिल रही है कली कली
जो कहते हैं उनको कहने दो या दिल की सुनो दुनिया वालों
प्यारी नानी रूसा रूसी छोड़ दे जल्दी से एक पैसा दे दे तुम कंजूसी छोड़ दे मोरनी को मोड़ ले गए मुझसे बात करती हूँ मुझसे बात करती हो या फिर हो हमारे
से डरे ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम ऐ मालिक तेरे बंदे हम
लाल छेड़ गयो रे मोरे पन घट पे लाल छेड़ गयो रे
ऐसा हो जाए तेरी निंदिया मुझे मिल जाए कोई जागे और मैं सो जाए रिवाइज वर्जन है जाए ये
तू जागे मैं सो जाऊं आकी हो होशियार जाने वाले जरा होशियार यहाँ में हम हैं राजकुमार हाँ होशियार होशियार बोला ना होशियार
मेरे रेशमी सलवार कुर्ता मगन तुम नाचोगे मगन तुम नाचोगे आएगी बारात पता से
तितली उड़ी
आज गमगीन हम आ भी जा आज मेरे सनम शाम गम की कसम दिल परेशान है रात वीरान है शाम गम
मेरी जा प्यार किसी से हो ही गया है हम क्या करें मेरी जा प्यार में ये मूवी आई थी हम क्या करें रुक जाना नहीं
के राहों में चल के मिलेंगे राही प्यार के ओ राही ओ राही ओ राही ओ राही
कैसा है जनाब का क्या हाल कैसा है जनाब का हम चल गए ओ यूं ही फिसल गए आ कैसा है जनाब का
जो होता जिस
कहीं दूर जब दिन ढल
करे जवा में लागे कटार कोयलिया मत कर पुकार करे जवा में लागे कटार कोयलिया या
दोबारा गाने की
कोयलिया
मोहब्बत में धो लिए कुछ दिल से दिल की बात कही और रो लिए यूं हसरतों की दाग
गो
हो गया ये हो गया गुमनाम है कोई हो गया
कौन है वो अनजान है कोई इस बड़ी दुनिया में कोई भी हमारा न हुआ खैर तो खैर भी अपनों का सहारा न हुआ
आम वाला आ के हंसने वाला हा है ना हमें मतलब कंफ्यूजन है ना
आजा सनम मधुर चांदनी में हम मधुर चांदनी में हम तुम मिले तो वीराने में लिया जाएगी धन्यवाद
झूमने लगेगा आसमां कहता है दिल और मचलता है दिल मेरे साजन ले चल मुझे तारों के छाँव लगता नहीं है दिल
पुरानी चेहरा काली जुल्फे रंग सुनहरा तेरी जवानी तौबा तौबा दिलरुबा 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 दिलरुबा
आपको हमारी कसम लौट आइए बेकरार करके हमें यूं न जाइए आपको हमारी कसम लौट आइए देखिए ये काली काली बदलियां ये कोई आपको बना न ले सनम आपको हमारी कसम लौट आइए
ये शाम ओके ये रेशमी जुल्फें
भी कुछ अजीब थी। ये चांद का रोशन चेहरा, जुल्फों का रंग सुनहरा, ये झील सी नीली आंखें, कोई राज है इनमें गहरा। तारीफ करूं क्या उसकी जिसने तुम्हें बनाया। गाइए। वो गा रहे ने? अरे बहुत पूरी टीम यो जाऊ चाहे कोई मुझे जंगली कहे,
कहता रहे हम प्यार के तूफानों में गिरे हैं, हम क्या करें।
कहना मेरे प्यार का, अरे हल्का हल्का रंग झुमका, रंग तो है इकरार का, ओए हरदम मेरे।
हार भी जाओ कितना कोशिश है, हम गाने ही ऐसे गा रहे हैं। हार भी जाओ मान जाओ ना, हार जाओ, खाना खत्म हो गया।
अब ये खिलौने तोड़ने पे आ गए।
रोना रोना
राजा तोरे बंगले में, अगर मैं होती राजा काली को लिया, तो रहती राजा तोरे बंगले पर, रहती राजा तोरे बंगले बंगले। बाकी साइलेंट
कहते हैं काम करेगा बेटा, बेटा हमारा काम करेगा, मगर तो कोई न जाने कि मेरी मंजिल है कहाँ। आँखों की महकती खुशबू प्यार से छूके से, रिश्तों का इल्जाम न दो, हमने देखी है दोस्त ना रहा, प्यार प्यार ना रहा,
कितने दीवाने कब हुआ यार? दीवाने हैं। चलो क्या
हमारे वही गाने बोले,
हमारे सिवा तुम्हारे और कितने दीवाने हैं, कसम से किसी को नहीं मैं जानती। छोड़ो छोड़ो ये तो बहाने हैं। उसने के
जाओ कहना मेरे प्यार का, अरे हल्का हल्का सुर्ख लबों पे रंग
हवाओं से कह दो, हवाओं से कह दो मेरा यार, हवाओं से बोलो बोलो। अरे गाइए 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 गाइए।
कि कोई अनजान पे लिख दो हवाओं के नाम, हम अनजान परदेसियों का सलाम, हवाओं से कह दो हम बस दर्द दिल, दर्द जिगर, दर्द दिल आपने।
मुझे तुमको हराना होगा, चुपके से दवा जान के खाया होगा, होके मजबूर मुझे झा से होके मजबूर मुझे झा से।
बरेली के बाजार में झुमका गिरा रे, बरेली के बाजार में झुमका गिरा, झुमका गिरा, झुमका गिरा, हाय 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 झुमका गिरा रे, बरेली के बाजार में।
मेरे मन की गंगा और तेरे मन की जमुना का बोल राधा बोल संगम होगा कि नहीं, अरे बोल राधा बोल संगम होगा कि नहीं, नहीं नहीं।
ऐसी बात में दबा के चली आई, खुल जाए वही रात तो दुआई है दुआई, हाय बात देश में प्यार तो है जहर भी है, होठों पे ऐसी बात में दबा के चली आई,
बादल आवारा बन के किसी का सहारा बनूं, है नाम तेरा जल की धारा, धारा
रुक जाओ जाने वाली, मामा रे सुन लो सुनाता हूँ तुमको कहानी, टूटो ना हमसे ओ गुड़ियों की रानी, रे मामा रे मामा रे।
Time out. I want to introduce 4 kids of IITK 77. Cheshta. They are all here. They have all studied here. Akash is still studying. Akash, Didi, Abha Sharma, Puneet, JP Singh, and Tanmay, Vinesa. Vinesa, where is Vinesa? ये चारों मेरे घर में आ रहे हैं पिछले 3-4 साल से। ये ग्रेजुएट हो गई है, ये 3 अभी हैं।
वेल डन हरिपाल सिंह। वेरी गुड। 4 के 4 हमारे वंशज है, आप लोग हमारे वंशज हैं, वंश आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। का से I can hold up about 4 bits. I want it's an extension. तो अब साले होने दो यार, अपने आप सेंसर मोड है। क्या करें? स्टेशन से उतरे तो आप even G.R.D. Tata, he has done it initially. Mukesh Ambani has done it. उसके पहले भी मिस्त्री ने सब कवर But that was the all one. look, I'll show you. Yeah. No, Roman hasn't gone out of that. Roman has gone out of.
Even if you take out right from your own chemical engineer can explain
हैप्पी डोनर्स जो आते हैं ना वो ये देखते हैं कि पुअर स्माइलिंग हैप्पी फेसेस। देखो तो वहाँ खड़े हुए हैं। The best thing is कि हर You're coming to Pitu?
Not the year 2020, but rather 2020 as in the vision. And it is a plan for the next 20 years of the Institute. It is starting, actually discussion on this started in January 2010 during the Golden Jubilee of the Institute. And the target was that by year 2030, we should have realized this. So a bunch of alumni, just to give you a brief history, came on campus and had a long discussion with the faculty and students in the institute, and that's where this whole thought emerged from. A study committee was formed to sort of champion this and develop this thought. Some faculty members on campus at the time, Professor Sanjeev Kumar was BRPG, and some alumnus. Well, we have one of participants in that committee sitting right here, Praveen Tripathi. And the target was to come up with a vision for the institute. And one thing that was very clear is that we were not happy with the place the institute walks or is currently. And so the discussion was centered on how to take it to the next level. And to help us crystallize our thoughts, McKinsey was engaged for data collection and comparison of the IITK with the institute across the world, and also do within the institute talk to various stakeholders as an independent entity, because some of us go and talk to, there is always this issue of whether there is some bias in this or not, but as an independent organization could come and have a few comedy session. Okay, so McKinsey sent its report, and here are some snippets from the report. They looked at some of the leading institutes across the world and compared IIT Kanpur, not just IIT Kanpur, with some other IIT, for example, Bombay and Kharagpur as well, and concluded the following: that we compare well in terms of people and teaching effectiveness. So we have excellent students. We teach very well. Hopefully you will attest to that. And if you look at student-faculty ratio, selectiveness in admission, etc., they are pretty good. The numbers at the bottom right, these are 2010 figures, but these are the newer figures. Things have been slightly performance. However, it's the research effectiveness will lag behind, and some of the numbers put it across very clearly. If you look at the number of PhDs awarded, several hundreds versus just about 100 in IITK. PhD to faculty ratio again much smaller compared to the MITs and Stanfords. Patents granted, publications for faculty, research grants for faculty. We all, in all of these dimensions, we are roughly off by a factor of 10.
But you're smaller also.
We are smaller also, yes. So, but then if you look at publications per faculty, that takes care of that. So, the vision that we crystallize on, so there's just some data to show us where we are, and what we want in 20 years from now is to become a global leader in amongst the educational institutions in multiple dimensions. One could argue that we are even now global leaders in terms of teaching, but that's not something we are happy with. We would also like to become one of a global leader in research. So that's a very good vision to have. The devil lies in the detail. How do we actually implement, achieve this? Okay, so here are again some recommendations from that McKinsey report. That this is what we should be aiming for. And these numbers are not set in stone. I will not get clear on here a bit. But the central point remains the same, that as was just mentioned, one of the reasons we are not a global leader is because we are much smaller compared to some of the top universities. We are growing, but maybe we need to go a little more. For example, number of students, we are currently, actually instead of 2015, we can replace it by 2012 because we are already around more than 5,000. So what is suggested is that we become close to 10,000 in 20 years. And the major increase here should happen in the graduate population, not in the undergraduate population, which should, undergraduate population is going to stabilize at around 3,500 given the current trend. If one can increase it to about 4,000, 4,500, but the remaining number should come from the faculty. Which of course means that that's what the bottom chart says. Faculty strength, again, something we should really, from 344 in 2010, that's the number we are at currently as well. We need to be looking at something close to 1,000. Number of PhD, so if you have large number of PhD students and faculty, clearly the number of PhDs awarded will grow up the range.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did the McKinsey study look at the possibility that if you look out in the next 20 years, will a government-funded institution even be a research lab? If you look at University of California, it's only been declining. So is it, that to be a global leader in research, is it possible for any government institution, anywhere in the world, so take China out of the equation, is it possible for a government institution to be a leader?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and they did think about it. Their suggestion was that we should move away from the government funding. Of course, one cannot say that make the government funding zero. But right now, the government funding to IIT constitutes 99%, no, well, I shouldn't say 99%, but 90% plus amount of annual grants that we get. That we need to bring down substantially.
So I think other places have done that. You see, California has done that. But they still have the issue of they can't set their own tuition rates, they can't set their own faculty salaries.
Well, so that's a model we should not be following. If they are not able to get this freedom to select, set some of their own parameters, then we should not be following that particular model.
Another question here. And while making that recommendation that you said about moving away from the government funding, did McKinsey or anybody else look at models other than the US model like Cambridge, Oxford, ETH, Lausanne, EPFL, Tokyo University? I can go on rattling off number of very top universities which substantially depend on government funding.
Yes, but that's true. But then you need if you are completely dependent on the government.
No, I'm not talking about complete dependence, but I'm saying that
substantially dependent.
One doesn't have to look down necessarily on government funding. There has to be a balance.
Yeah, there has to be.
And there's a socio-economic aspect to it. I mean, the private funding into research in India is not forthcoming. It's not that the fact that it's because of government funding that the private funding is not there. Private funding is not there. That's where the government funding has to be. So I think one has to have a very larger perspective.
True. That's why they suggested sort of a more balanced
government funding is only one thing. What about the government control? That's a bigger issue, you know.
Yes, but that is something we are fighting a separate battle. Yes, they did suggest that we need to have far more control to follow our path than currently we have. Unfortunately, that's a conclusion which government appointed committee has also reached at. So it was the Kakurkar committee, and they have submitted their report and they have essentially said what we have said in McKinsey, what McKinsey report said. That the funding model needs to change, there has to be a more bigger balance between the government and non-governmental funding. They have also suggested to substantially raise the fee, which currently is heavily subsidized. They have also said that almost all decisive powers should lie to the board of the respective IITs, which includes selecting the new director, the new man, etc., the new board members. Yes.
You said that you want to increase the government, the private funding, and decrease the dependence on government funding, and models of U.S. universities. Actually, U.S. universities in last 5-year cycle are facing tremendous, downturn in private funding. I mean, their NSF funding is limited and private funding, so they are really are in a bind. And we don't even have, they had private funding and they dried up. We never had here. And so, I mean, I agree with the recommendations, but I feel that this is very difficult to do.
Yes, but
there is say something. If you read the study, and I just happen to have that because I'm from Notre Dame, I get that study. What you're saying was a direct reason behind that was the recession, the Great Recession we had. And if you were to see today's data, from the last years, numbers have come back. Numbers definitely have come back. So what you saw in the last 3 years was a direct result of a massive, that we went through an incredibly Great Recession. So that model really has not changed, and the fundings have come back.
Right, but then you have to worry about these fluctuations affecting your
yes, but but we are talking of two very different, sections. We are here compared to how much funding we get. We are compared to look at the amount of per student or per faculty funding that a typical US university has. There is no comparison. only when we reach up to that point then we have to worry about, okay, is there a funding cut or not. Right now we are, not using the same ballpark.
So I have one more question. So you are aspiring to have, say, 5,000 PhD and master's students. Do you think there's enough supply or enough desire in the people to come in and do PhDs?
Probably not at the time, yes. But that's a 20-year goal. We need to work simultaneously on this as well. And the hope is that as the Indian industry matures, they will require more and more graduate students. They will have more research labs set up. They will innovate more. They will need more PhDs and masters, and that will make the number of students interested in it grow as well.
So when we compare with MIT or Stanford and say one of the problems is our strength is much smaller, how about comparing ourselves with Caltech, where our strength is larger? So it's not just a number game.
It's not just a number game.
It's also quality that matters.
Yes.
And Caltech is certainly a world-class institution. So it's not achievable only by numbers.
No, I'm not saying it's only achievable by numbers. Actually, if you see, as I said, the number of undergraduates, we are not saying that increase that substantially. Right now, the number of graduate students we have is, and the number of faculty we have are too small. The Caltech has the advantage.
No, I'm saying your number of graduate students are probably more than Caltech even now.
Well, but even maybe the faculty also, but Caltech is Caltech. I mean, they have the advantage of only hiring absolute best in the world. We are not at that position.
And funding. They are.
And we have to hire 1,000 faculty to be ensure that 200 are world class. They only need to hire 200 to ensure that 200 are.
Ultimately, I think everything boils down to funding. And the quality of faculty, as Hemant is trying to point out, I mean, if you want to improve quality, you need to improve not just faculty, but everything else.
Everything else.
Which a lot of that is going on in IITK, as we saw yesterday. But to get that funding, you have to get out of the clutches of government control. And you should be able to charge fees which, if you compare the fees, for example, the petrol cost today in India compares quite well with the petrol costs even in the UK, for example. I mean, UK is still higher, but so everything has gone up. But what about the fees? I mean, they have to go up if
very, very low.
Yeah. So that I think is the issue. If you have funding, you can do a lot of things in terms of improving quality, in terms of and I think IIT. I think I'm talking about IIT Kanpur particularly, is in that threshold where if they get the funds, they will be in the position to take off and reach that ultimate goal which is see.
I agree with you completely. And so fortunately the Kakotkar committee, which is the government's own committee, has also recommended that fees need to be hiked substantially. And there is still a lot of dragging of fees from the government side because this is a decision only the government can take.
What is it? What is current fees?
Current fees is 50,000 rupees a year.
And recommendation?
Recommendation is to make it more like 4 lakhs.
How does it compare with a private,
Private colleges they charge something around
2 lakhs.
Well, 2 lakhs. Or if you add everything,
2 lakhs.
hostel fee and this fee and that fee, it will be more like 3 lakhs.
I mean, MBAs, that's over 15 lakhs a year. And they don't need the labs.
No, but tell me, do you have foreign students here?
No, we don't.
Why don't you do that?
Undergraduate level, we are not allowed.
Oh, you think the government control doesn't allow you to do that?
At the graduate level, we can. And we are trying. Now we are getting more and more back. You may have run into some European students on campus because their number is increasing slowly.
What you could do is have foreign students, because now there's a lot of drive from a lot of countries and students want to come in here.
Yes, but
you can have a variable fee structure for foreign students.
Right now we are not at the stage where a substantial number of foreign students are interested in coming in and we can use that as the revenue.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the US universities are doing. They charge
That's
more to
what generate that kind of work. That's like only when we can project ourselves as one of the top world-class universities that will get that kind of interest from students across the world to get it, and that's when we can use
In the
it.
IIMs, they have this program, international program, where they have a collaboration with some international universities, and the students from there spend some time at the IIM, and the IIM students who had spent some time there. It's a truly global, and it gives you the advantage of being comparable with global universities. Isn't it possible to see, if you have a Georgia Tech or somebody as your partner, in medicine they are doing it, John Hopkins, Harvard Medical School. Why can't we do something like that?
It's difficult for the following reason, that IIMs, whatever exchange they do, they make the students pay for it. We cannot do it. Why? Okay. So that would mean, because that will make, okay, so if we say to our undergraduate students, okay, here is opportunity, there is this place where you can go, but it will require you to spend so many rupees, so many. Only those students who can afford, whose family can afford that, will be able to make way. One or two such students is fine, we do that as well. But the moment this number becomes a significant one, there will be, the government will step in saying that you are not discriminating students based on their economic condition.
I think reality is that.
I think except airfare, everything could be bartered.
No, but we have to spend the money anyway.
No, nothing except airfare, everything could be bartered. I give you one student, you give me one student, but the student.
Yeah, local hospitals, that's not an issue. That's the airfare that becomes
the issue. Could we set up a scholarship from alumni funds to do that?
We do have some, but we need more. So that's where you can have. If yes, we do have such, we do get such money from other sources, we can certainly run this program.
But even to get a bank to give a loan to anybody from IIT, I mean, you just have to talk to the right sources to they'd be willing to give these loans very easily.
It's not so easy, but we can discuss it offline because this is a long history. Okay, so now, how do we achieve this? The suggestion is to work on the 6 broad themes. Improve the teaching effectiveness. This is something we are already good, but we can do better. Research effectiveness, that's really important for us now. Another very crucial thing is to have a more impact on the Indian society. We need to develop technologies and work on things which will have a direct impact on the society as we have, because that will also be play a critical role in improving research effectiveness. Because we cannot be a world leader by working on problems which somebody else has posed. We have to pose our own problems. Only then we can hope to achieve that. Well, governance is another thing that needs to be looked at very carefully, because IIT Kanpur prided itself in being a very informally run institute, right from the beginning. And that was a wonderful model when the numbers were small. But as the numbers now are growing, that model is not working anymore. And there is still this, some confusion on what we need to do, because there is a strong desire to keep holding on to that model. It was such a nice model. But at the same time, practically it's not feasible. So there is something we need to work on. Funding, we have already talked about it. And alumni collaboration. Work more closely with our Okay, so just a quick comparison in terms of some important numbers that I noted down. Faculty, present 350, year 2030 we want to be 1,000. Students 5,010. PhDs graduated 100 to 500. Research staff, let's ignore that for a moment. Annual budget, we are currently at about 350 crores. This includes the government grant given by the government, which is around 250 crores. The R&D budget, which is around 100 crore, and the alumni contribution, which is around 5 crores. That number we need to take to 4,000 crores by
Did you create intermediate columns?
Yes, there are intermediate of course. Research budget, particularly, we need to write, as I said, 100 crores, we need to really ramp it up. So this is just to give you an idea of where we are and where.
I just want to understand this. Annual budget of 350 crores, that means 250 crores government gives you as a grant. And then another 100 crores is collected through research grants. And they could be government or non-government organizations.
And
what about separate things?
That's it.
What about the amount of tuition you collect?
Tuition is actually included in the 250 crores, yes. Tuition, but that is very minor, a few crores.
How much?
A few crores.
That's it?
That means if you take, if you take the tuition to 4 lakhs, it's still going to be a few crores.
A few tens of crores.
It's going to make any difference to your 4,000 crore.
Well, that's now 4 lakhs.
No, I'm just trying to understand the relevance of the tremendous emphasis on increasing the tuition fee.
It is not, yes, number percentage wise is going to be a much smaller number. Still. But that money will be institute's own money. It will not be coming from the government, therefore it will not have the strings attached to it as any government money that comes to us has a number of conditions. Okay, you can only do it this for this, you can, some part of money comes and says, you can only buy equipment with it, nothing else. Some part of money
so
comes.
it's a slush money sort of thing.
Right.
Very often we start with this discussion on the tuition fee without realizing that it's a very small percentage of the total cost of running an institution like this.
True.
And that's true for all institutions, at least in India.
But it still can be a very useful one. For example, the alumni give us about 5 crores a year, as I said. So that's a very sort of minuscule percentage of this 350 crores. Yet, the impact of that is far more than the percentage value. Because that's slush money. We can do whatever with it, almost whatever.
So let me ask you this. What is the basis of funding for, say, IIT Kanpur? So are you saying to me that IIT Kanpur and IIT Delhi, based on a certain criteria, they get the same amount of money?
No.
The government doesn't discriminate, because if you started raising 100 crores from alumni, would your funding from the government go down?
They just use the criteria, okay, how many students do you have? So that's roughly.
I understand correctly that among, say, 11 IITs or whatever the number is, if we want to be above everybody else, one of the driving criteria, let's make sure we understand this. Money makes everything move.
Okay.
So the more we have, say, from alumni or other sources into our organization, it makes us that much better than others, even though they are on the same level.
Yes.
Just one more question.
Yes.
Roughly the size of the university of IIT is increasing twofold or roughly threefold in terms of number of students and faculty. But the funding is going up 10%. Why that?
Why that? Okay, a couple of reasons. Very good question. Firstly, we want to count in average amount of money per faculty available or per student available needs to be high. That's one. And second is that we are also factored in inflation rate. The money will, in 20 years, the inflation will sort of raise 350
So these numbers are not at today's prices, they
Not
are
at
at 2030 prices.
That's 4,000 crores to 2030.
What will be the present value?
Present value will
About 1.8. With a 10% inflation, every 7 years is double.
Okay, let me qualify that. Okay. This number was calculated assuming 3% inflation.
Which is not the case.
So, if the inflation changes, these numbers are changing. Okay, another very important dimension which is was not there when you were around, but now it is taking the roots of campus is the startups. We have a small center for incubation, which houses currently 16 startups mostly by our own students, faculty. And there is increasingly more and more desire among our students to start on their own. And this incubation center provides them with space and other facilities to take their company forward. And the space is given for 2 years typically. So in 2 years' time, they are expected either to close down because their idea didn't work, or move out because they have grown now bigger that they need more space.
You provide space for them?
We provide space for them and other basic facilities all they want.
What do you get in return?
We take, I think, 3% of the equity. We also provide them loans if they desire, but in lieu of larger equity.
Okay, good. Are you going to make those available to alumni to invest in?
Sorry?
You should make them available to alumni to invest.
Absolutely. We'll love it. So that's an initiative I'll talk about in a while. But that number we want to take to 150 because we want to create that space, more space for them. We are already actually in the process of creating space, which will probably take it to about 40-50 startup space. But we want to eventually ramp it up to 150 startups.
By the way, there is a company that has been set up, which has been given grant by DST of 100 crores, and which will invest only in ventures floated by IIT and IIM graduates. They now have 300 crores of funding tied up, and they are looking for more funding. So far, if you want to invest, I'll connect you with those guys.
By the way, you all must have got this foldable map of campus.
Yes.
That was designed by one of the startups on campus. Okay, so how do we achieve all this ambitious target? We have had in the last couple of years since this whole process started, we have a lot of discussion internally, and we have initiated certain reforms. Partly due to this, partly there was already a certain thought process happening in the institute. So let me briefly share these things with you. And on the academic side, we have just last year moved to a very new, brand new curriculum in the undergraduate level. It's a shift to a completely credit-based system.
What based system?
Credit-based system. All UG programs have now become 4 years, including sciences. Engineering was already 4 years. There are now minors that a student can do in multiple streams. There are 4 UG research courses that an undergraduate student can take, starting from third year. And once a student completes 4 years of education, then he or she has an option to opt for a 5th year, which could be in the same stream, which will give him or her a master's. It could be in a different stream, which would give him or her a second under BTech degree. It could be in MBA. We also have a management program now on campus, or another master's in design program also on campus. So it could be any of these. And now we have one mid-sample. We have 2 mid-samples. Which also allows us to run modular courses, so half semester courses. That's a very big advantage because there are advanced level courses you might want to run for half semester. Okay, faculty hiring is a major issue with us. In the last few years, we have been quite aggressive in terms of hiring. We have grown from about 280 faculty to about 350 now. One of the things we have to work on, and that's very important, is that to do something about faculty salaries. Although in the recent pay commission recommendation of the government, the salaries have gone up, but they still remain well below what the industry pays. That acts as one deterrent to a potential faculty.
Do you have sharing of the research funds? So if somebody brings 5 crores, will you be able to? I mean, the person keep 10%?
So this is one more way the government puts strings. So all government funding that comes cannot be, not a single rupee can be given to the faculty. That's the condition it comes. The industry money which comes with that can be shared, and it is shared, which if I assume has been fairly generous about sharing that money. The institute takes about 20% from that and then leaves the rest of the seat to the faculty.
That's very generous. That's very generous.
But it could be by the institute has to run, the faculty has to run some projects, has to do certain things and so on. But at the same time, something is
discretionary income is what you want to be able to control it, so that's a crazy
we just recently, our board has approved a joining bonus of ₹9 lakhs to every new faculty. So that is one way we feel we can attract more faculty. It's only one of the ways, but at least there is some start from that.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Does the joining bonus mandate a certain minimum term of stay at IITK?
Yeah, it's spread over 3 years, so it's not given in one go. So it's 3 years, multiple installments. So that's, we expect the faculty to stay here for 3 years.
Are other IITs not offering a similar bonus?
They are, but they are offering less than what we
So how long before they catch up and this becomes redundant?
So they become 15.
Maybe 1 year.
No, that's fine. But this money cannot come from the government grant, so it has to be from the additional grant that we have. Right now, we can afford to pay this. Well, at least we hope we can afford to pay this. But we have already gone ahead and said, okay, we'll do it one way or the other. Other items may or may not be.
Again, comes down to the slush money. Yeah. How much more you can, if we can provide another 5 crore funding, and they can use it for that, I mean, so it all boils down to the money. If you have more money than IIT Bombay, guess what? You can pay more as a starting.
Well, IIT Bombay may not have to pay the joining bonus based on other infrastructure that it's all market.
Besides being in Bombay.
Yes.
That's why Bombay and Delhi attract the maximum.
The infrastructure, ability to go in and out.
Okay, so besides that, we have also, to help us in faculty hiring, taken some advice. And Professor Raj Bhotia of Washington University has come forward and he's created this big network of US-based alumni academicians who have promised to help us in identifying potential faculty candidates. Working with them or with their colleagues there, and convince them from our behalf that IIT Kanpur is a good place. And from our side, the Dean of Faculty Affairs, Professor Chandrasekhar, is closely involved in this. And in this summers this year, June sometime, many of us are going to visit US, and where we are going to call a number of potential faculty at one place to interact with them and convince them to come to class.
Sir?
Yes.
A small point, the faculty academicians who are there, the alumni academicians who are there, so can we ask them to come as a visiting faculty for a SEM or let's say modular courses or maybe summer courses?
Yes, that's another thing we are working on. Yes. To involve, get alumni, more alumni come and visit us on campus to offer part of the courses.
are you only looking at, say, the US? Are you looking internally as well? I mean, within the country?
Within the country as well, of course. This is just a start. So we saw that a large encashment area is the US for us. Actually. So that we have started, but we eventually expanded to the whole world, not just the US. R&D, we are to increase also, primarily our funding right now in R&D is coming from the law. There are some major success stories in terms of private sector also. We have a very strong program going on with Boeing, with Chevron, and Intel also to an extent. But we would like to substantially expand this. And that's where there is a lot of work right now going on. Again, Praveen is helping out in that. In setting up an office of industrial relations where we would invite industry people to become part of this, where we can share and work more closely with each other, or share the information and work closely with each other. And this being led by the Dean of Research and Development.
So, I have a suggestion. So, last year, NYU did a similar initiative to dramatically grow R&D. NYU has become the largest private university in the world. And they're not known for R&D, they're known for education. So what they decided to do with the R&D initiative was to have a theme. Say, we will do R&D in multiple disciplines, but they picked the theme of urban, not planning, but urban development, basically. NYU is New York City, is a large city. So what will the problems that cities will face in the next 50 years? And that's a multidisciplinary issue, like energy, transportation, etc. And they decided to use that as the R&D initiative theme for the university. They got industry to sponsor aspects of that. So, Cisco can sponsor networking, or somebody can sponsor water, and they also got New York City to probably put in $300 or $400 billion to do this. So I think having a theme around the R&D.
Yes, that's a very good point, and we already have it. Actually, I hope because Muralidhar is here, was the previous Dean R&D, because R&D is currently out of town. And he's, after me, he's going to make a presentation specifically about the R&D activities on campus. So he'll hopefully touch upon this. Okay, entrepreneurship. Yeah, some of the questions have been asked about this. We have this free center for incubation, and again, we are now working with alumni to mentor the startups here. This is Dr. Funny. He'll be here during lunchtime as the director's residence. So if some of you would like to meet him, I'll be happy to introduce him. And alumnus Anand Jagannathan, they are the two of them are leading this sort of PhD. Okay, so as has already been said several times, that to do all of this, yes.
Just wanted to add, named 3 alumni who are involved in these initiatives. They're all members of the IIT Kanpur Foundation Board in the US, and we definitely want more alumni in the US to get involved with the foundation's activities there. There are people from the Alumni Association which is doing. So for the people in the US, we are expecting that Emil Bansal will become a board member soon. I stepped out the board in December, but it's very active and a lot of people are getting involved with the initiatives to do things. So if you are based in the US, please do contact the foundation. In June, they are going to have a series of meetings when Professor Dandam and Rawal come there. I think that's the 15th of June that these events are going to be held that weekend on the East Coast and the West Coast. So please put it on your calendars and be there.
Thanks. Okay, so all of this will require pumping in substantial amount of funds, and these funds will be, of course, partly come from the government. We have to work with the government to convince them to give us more money, and at the same time, it has to also come from outside. And we are hoping that our alumni will also come forward to help us in achieve our targets. And with that in mind, we are going to propose very soon formally, but I'm going to share that in this a IIT Kanpur Diamond Jubilee Fund. In year 2019, our 2019-20 is our Diamond Jubilee year, and we are targeting to raise 500 crore rupees by that period. So we'll start the fund this year, and with the target of raising 500 crore rupees by year 2020. And this will be entirely to support this Vision 2020 initiatives. Where will this money go? Well, some of the major buckets are here. As I just mentioned, every new faculty should be given is 9 lakhs as joint bonus. And we are also targeting to have for 300 more faculty by year 2020, and that number total transfer will be about 27 crores. For faculty, we have to also make sure that given the lack of entertainment in the Kanpur city, there are some interesting things to do on campus. And for that, we have already started working on a nice faculty club, which will have all kinds of facilities for games and other things. Another very important thing, which in some way we would like to help the faculty with, and that is also going to help us attract faculty here, is the post-retirement medical benefits. The faculty who is working here is covered by the medical benefits, which as per the government rules. But the day a faculty retires, it falls down to zero. Nothing is available.
Is that true for all government employees?
No. The central government employees will continue to enjoy those benefits.
So that's something which you should fight for central government. If you're a central government employee, there is no reason for you not to fight for that with a total, absolute aim to get it done.
Okay, so the government is, I agree with you that we are carrying out that fight there as well. But the ways of the government are, it's really very hard to predict.
So what is the government's logic on this?
Their logic is you are not central government employee.
No, then why we are governed by the prestige of government employees?
You are an autonomous institute.
No, but the salaries are different
No,
from
but
central
does it
government.
happen in all autonomous institutions, like these public sectors?
Public sector, yes, public sector also is happening. But public sector enterprises generate their own resources to meet their funds.
Well, one question. What's the attrition rate for the faculty?
Attrition rate for the faculty is about 10%.
Per year?
10% of the hire. Every year we hire, the number we hire, or 10% of that.
No, overall.
Overall will be much smaller.
Out of 350, how much?
About, I would say, yeah, few, 2 or 3%.
Overall is 2 to 3%?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
Can I ask you something? I mean, it's great that you're putting incentives for people to join and make it very attractive for them with the faculty club and health insurance. Do you have statistics on how many offers you made and how many were rejected?
Yes. We do.
Is it more than 60 or 70%?
Typically about 50-60% are accepted.
Yeah, so I mean 40% rejected. So I mean, I don't know whether that's, given that there are 10 IITs and other private institutes are coming up. So, I mean, I work for a major company, and if we experience, one acceptance out of 3 that we are extending for a good person, we think it's great. So, I mean, you are experiencing higher than acceptance. So, to sweeten the pot, I don't know whether that is, necessary. All you need to do is increase the number of people who you approach. That way, 60% accept and you get 200 that you need.
Well, the problem here is slightly different also. So this is one issue, but there is another issue. There is a number of potential faculty who don't even bother applying.
That's what I mean.
They say we won't come because it's just not beneficial to me. We would rather go to industry, we would rather go into something else. They just sign off academics.
What is the average salary?
No, they still need to
IT
develop
professor,
more.
a professor who joins is about 6 lakhs a year.
6 lakhs a year, gross or after tax deduction and all?
Gross.
Plus some housing or.
Plus housing, sorry. Yes, 6 lakhs a year plus housing plus medical.
That's it? That's it? That's it?
It's very amazing.
So the officials are
everything.
Some of your graduates fresh must be getting more than that.
Many.
Not some.
What can they aspire to? Like 10 years later?
Okay, what is the maximum they get is about 15 lakhs in, that's the highest. No, after about 20 years.
Is this a regulated salary?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Same.
I think, Professor, you're missing out some of the extra fellowship amounts that people can get in India, which adds in under easily 40,000 rupees per month.
Well, that's, the fellowships are like JC Bose fellowships.
JC Bose and Bhatnagar.
Yes. But those are only available for very.
So what I'm saying, at the top of the top, you could
at the
be
top
getting,
of the top, you probably.
You could be getting, if you calculate the house rent allowance in a metro city, it comes to about 24 lakhs, nearly 2 lakhs a month.
What is the equivalent position of director as far as the government hierarchy is concerned? Is it secretary, additional secretary, joint secretary, as far as the pay is concerned?
Secretary to the government.
Secretary?
Secretary to the government. 80,000.
80,000 is the only bare amount. It was the additional DA, DA.
English 15 lakhs.
Okay. Now let's move on. R&D initiative. This again, this person is a key driver of this whole scheme. And that's where, will you be speaking something about the research part?
He gave me a presentation.
Okay, maybe not. So, we are very strong, actively working on creating a major research park facility on campus, which will house the major facilities, equipment facilities, major research projects happening on the campus, as well as it will house the startups created by our students. And the goal is that all of this will work together. This whole ecosystem will be at one place working together. And we have also identified 4 major themes, which will be earlier pointed out, work on that: energy and environment, societal technologies, and so 4 major things all identified also, firstly by the utility to the society, and secondly also taking into account the expertise available on campus. We already have big groups working. And that research park, we have at least 30,000 square meters of space with all kinds of equipment and facilities. It will cost at least 250 crores. Probably more. Okay, student initiatives. We would like to create 500 student scholarships for undergraduates, each paying full tuition. In the long run, we are going to have close to 4,000 students, undergraduate students on campus. About a quarter of them are provided such scholarships by the institute through the government funds. So that takes care of 500. Well, I think that we take care of 1,000.
Why the scholarship cannot be converted to loan scholarship?
Yeah, exactly.
It could be.
It should be that only.
Okay, that's thought we can work on.
You really should think about that much more than direct scholarship because your requirements are much smaller and loans would be much easier because that's their way of contributing back. And you would recycle that money.
Yeah, but it might be that the alternative thought to this is if we give them as scholarships, we can approach maybe the same student who has received that scholarship. Okay, you got 50,000 rupees as scholarship. Why did you contribute now 1 lakh rupees? Give such scholarship.
On the other hand, if you give a loan, you have raised the platform of the student from here to here, he got to pay you back this which he has got a loan, and others, because had you not given the loan, the student would not have reached that place.
Exactly.
Fair enough. We can work on this and really work on this.
Banks are queuing up. Banks are queuing up. I went to one of the islands recently, and they are washing time, and banks have put out kiosks there, and there are 3 banks wooing students to come over and take loans from them.
Yes, that happens here as well, but there are certain issues with respect to bank loans, because somehow in our society, this word loan carries such a negative connotation.
Still?
No. Imagine the class from which the students are coming, there's a major section of that is coming from lower middle class. And for them, we all live in a different environment than that section of the society does.
Please understand, I agree that there is a problem with the word loan there. But that loan is with the fear that you have got collateral, you have got the personal guarantee and all that. But when the institute is giving this loan,
Yeah,
there is nothing like that.
I agree. So that I just was pointing out about the bank loan. Institute loan will be very different.
Bank loan, I will work with you separately and I can design the thing for you.
So, but anyway, to start with that, we need a reasonable amount of corpus to initiate such a scheme. That's another interesting idea, to have a tinkering lab for students. We will provide them with all tools as well as funding to work on, build and work on ambitious projects. We already had a couple of successes. Jublu satellite was created almost entirely by the students here. Some of you may have visited this planet mobile planetarium, entirely created by the second year students. It's built and done by second year students. The funding for it was entirely came from the alumni. We have this annual gift program and we use some of that money to completely fund this. And they have learned so much on this and they have such a nice facility. They can of course improve on it. It's still not a very state of the art facility, but it's very functional. Another interesting initiative is to have a corpus for the student festivals as well as the student hostels. They can then use that money and interest on that money to improve the hostel facility as well as for the festivals. This always becomes an issue that every year there is a fight to raise sponsorship money, and all students just waste so much time and they learn also from that process, but probably we feel that they excessively spend time on raising corporate sponsorship. Entrepreneurship initiative, well again this is very obvious that we would like to create an entrepreneurship fund to have more strongly support the startups as well as to promote entrepreneurship among students, to run various contests and other things.
You have this incubator and you're funding the things, and you talked about taking equity positions on this thing. Do you take IP ownership? Because a lot of times these entrepreneurs may come up with a technology which they are not able to sell and make it commercially successful. But that IP, if it stays with you, you could make money on it. So I don't know, this is one thing you should think about. That way you get more ROI on your investment. 10% of the entrepreneurs of this incubator will fly, make money, and your equity, you make money that way. But then those who fail, you make money out of their IP. So, I mean, I don't know.
That's something to think about, I guess. You can put it across the
I mean, you know, these are all the tactics that all major US universities are employing. And they're making money out of all these.
Okay. So finally, what does it translate? We want to raise 500 crores in 10 years. Let's do some numbers. We have 25,000 plus alumni of the institute today. So this 500 crore we can raise if every alumnus contributes 20,000 rupees per year for next 10 years. Or, given that this distribution of the numbers is sort of lopsided, it's much more heavier in the recent batches,